Yeah. I'll start at peak and give a couple tidbits of what was really important there. Definitely there was process in place at peak. There was a previous director of sales and other sales leaders that kind of came through, and the team was in a place where most startups are. After about a year or a year and a half after establishing a sales team, which is they have baseline processes set in place. Some repeatability is in there, kind of nestled away, but on the grand scheme of things, the scale isn't, they don't have what it takes to really get to the next level. And I think one of the biggest things at peak was really accountability and visibility. There wasn't a lot of that. They knew what to do. They knew how many calls they had to make. They knew how many people they had to talk to, but the visibility and accountability wasn't there, where at the end of the day, you can say, hey, salesperson, you didn't get to this number. What can we do to change that? What can we do to make sure you get to that number? And just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page with what happens if you don't hit that number tomorrow and the next day and the next day, whether it be calls, whether it be meetings, whether it be closes, doesn't matter what the metric is. There just wasn't visibility. It was like a week over week or month over month visibility, right? And so there at peak, the biggest thing was visibility and accountability into what you're responsible for on a day in, day out basis. As you know, we used ambition at peak, and we brought that into the organization. That was actually a really good way to manage it, because previously at Trulia, we did not have any form of gamification. And so all reporting was generated in-house, on a personal basis for whoever the manager was. And so introducing gamification of any sort is huge, because it almost self-manages them. They almost look at it and say like, hey, the only thing that's going to change that number is if I make this next call, or I book this next meeting, or if I make this next close. And so it was almost as if there was always a little Thomas on their shoulder, just telling them to make the next call or put in the next activity. And so that was a huge part of our growth that helped us grow, the team to almost 30 people in about 3 months between San Francisco, as well as our Salt Lake City offices. I know you have Josh on the books that you're going to talk to in the near future. It's great. He'll tell you the Utah story, and it's an awesome story to see how quickly the team grew and started to really perform at a high level really fast. Looking at ZeroCater, similar situation, but the team was a lot larger than Peaks was as a whole. But the SF team, when I started here, there was about 8 people in ZeroCater. The team has been successful, really successful in the past, other than the last about 8 months before I joined. The biggest thing with ZeroCater is that they had so much success, but now that there's a little bit more market saturation with competitors, and it's a little bit more challenging to pull people away from different competitors, and our stickiness factor isn't as sticky as it used to be. They're having to really dive deep into their sales skill and dig deep for how do I really sell this person? Why do they really want to switch, and how do I exploit that, right? Those are the things they never had to really think about before. So they were a successful sales team almost unconsciously. They were by virtue just because they were first in the marketplace or one of the market leaders, and leaning on that. And so the biggest thing coming into this business is implementing process, implementing scalability and a repeatable process for them to be able to follow.